What's up, Dragon Ball fans? Kyle Chris here, bringing you guys another deck profile, and today we're going to be going over set 12 Whis. I feel like this leader has a lot of potential to be a very strong rogue deck in the future, and it is having some TP printed for it in this set, so that's going to make this deck just abnormally better, you know, off rip. I also included in this deck profile, I'm going to have some cards that I have considered for main decking purposes, some for side deck, but these are also cards that I would recommend trying to fit into the main board if you don't like some of the cards I have in here. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll start here with the leader ability. So Whis, he is a attack draw one, and on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when a skillless card leaves your combo area for any reason, you can play it from the drop area. So if you combo with a card and they have a card that removes cards from your combo area, it doesn't matter, you get to play it out from your drop area. It's once per turn, it's only on your opponent's turn. Now you have two different awaken effects. You can awaken at 4 life, or you can awaken at once you have a 2-drop unison in play, which then allows you to restand 1, draw 1, and then you can take cards from your life down to 6. So if you awaken at 8 life, you can take 2 cards. You awaken at 7, you can take 1. On this side, Whis has kind of the same effects, but now he has an extra effect, which is active main for 1 yellow. You can take a 2-drop Goku or Vegeta, yellow Goku or Vegeta from your from your battle area. Then you place it in the drop, and then you get to search your deck or your hand for a card with the same character name. So if it's a Goku, you search for a Goku. Vegeta, you search for a Vegeta, and the energy cost of 3, and the X evolve skill, and you play it in your battle area. So you're not X evolving technically, so you don't get the X evolve effects, because the card that you're technically evolving from is going into the drop, so it's not going to stay in the battle area. So, but it does allow you to play out your engine without having to have it in your hand. So that's why you have the option of doing it from your hand or your drop. So we'll start here with the 1-drops, because we do run a good amount of 1-drops, and this is so we have different options turn 1. So the first one is going to be Son Gohan Stalling for Time. This is the 1-drop Self Awakener from set 12. You play it for 1. It also is the same too, which is important. So you play it, you swing, you take a life, and it gains 11k, so it becomes a 15k single damage. And the auto says if your opponent takes damage from this card, you can search top 7 and play out a 2-drop skillless with 15k power. So your Son Goku or your Vegeta. So this allows you to net a card on board, or your opponent has to block a 15k damage single strike, which is going to feel really bad. But they either don't block and then you get a free possible card, or they block and then they waste a card from their hand. But regardless, you're going to be able to self-awaken with this a little bit too, so just allows you to add another card to your hand. This is only good if you're going second. Don't play this card if you're going first. You have better options for going first. So we have Planet Vegeta. We run 3 of those. Planet Vegeta allows you to search your entire deck for a 4 or less Saiyan, add it to your hand, and then you also have the ability to restand apes, yellow apes, in your battle area. And then the last 1-drop we have is going to be the Whis Helping Hand. This card is awesome. So for 1 energy, you search top 5 for a ace yellow skillless, so it can be any skillless card. So if you end up playing this in Kid-Ku or Gohan or something else and you're using 1-drops or 3-drops, you can search out those as well. But also you can search out 2 or less 2 specific cost yellow unisons, so it allows you to find your unison as well. Second auto is when you combo with a yellow skills card, you get to draw a card. So on your turn or your opponent's turn, you actually can draw a card. Now the trick is you can only use it once per turn. So the last part of the auto says you cannot activate the auto skill on copies of this card for the duration of the turn. So you can't have 4 of these on the board, combo with a skillless, and then draw 4. It would be nuts if it worked that way. But you can play out multiple ones just to get the search off as well. So it's not, you know, technically a dead card, but you really just want to establish 1, and then we have ways of protecting it in the deck. So that's for the 1-drops. Now we'll go into the skillless cards, because this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the deck. So we have 4 of each of the Vegeta and Gokus. These are your 15k skillless cards. Now, so with your leader and with Whis here, you have a very, very awesome turn 2 combo. So let's say you go first, you play Whis, you search out a skillless card, whatever, you pass. Next turn, your opponent decides to swing at you. You combo with the skills card from your hand, draw a card off of Whis, and then at the end of the combo phase, play this card in your battle area. So now you just got a free 15k body on board, and you're never going to really hard cast these cards ever. You're going to be playing them off of your leader ability. Now, another cool thing is, let's say that turn passes. Let's say you end up just keeping one of these cards in active mode. You keep one of these skills cards in active mode. Opponent decides to swing. You don't have a skills card in your hand. That's okay. You combo this from your battle area. Because your leader effect does not say from your hand. It just says when a skills card leaves the combo area, play it out. So, and this card doesn't say anything about playing it from your hand. It just says when you combo with a skills card. So that's really cool. So you can basically have this card just sitting on board, and every turn you can just combo with it, draw the card, and then just play it back out from the drop area. It's really funny. Like I said, we have ways of protecting these cards on board. So you can just have a card just sit there, and you don't have to swing with it. And then your opponent decides to swing. You go, okay, combo, draw the card, and combo phase. Just play it back out in active mode. And now you have another 5k combo on board. Obviously, you can only draw once per turn, but still, it's pretty nuts. Yeah, I wish you could do it multiple times. It's really bad. It would be really fun if you could just do it multiple times, but alas, we're not allowed to have fun things. So we'll keep a Goku and a Vegeta out here. I can use these for the next part. So now we have the evolve targets here. So we have the Goku comes into play on this guy, and then the Vegeta. I only have 3 Vegeta currently. I'm waiting for my 4th one. So it shouldn't take me that long. They're not very expensive. So I do definitely think you should be running 4 of these, and then test and then find out if you want to run less of them. The only card you probably would want to run less of are the skills cards. Because you can play them back out, so maybe cutting those down to 3 eventually. Like I said, I'll do some testing and I'll figure out. So you have the deities disciples. You have Vegeta and Goku, both 20k 3 drops. You can play them out for 1 yellow energy as an X evolve on top of their corresponding cards, which allows you to draw the card. So you're drawing another card. And then Goku has crit, Vegeta has double strike. They both have their own attacking effects as well. So Vegeta's effect is when this card, when your opponent uses a counter skill during this card's battle phase, you get to restand it, and that is once per turn. So you get it could be a double strike, a 20k double strike dual attack technically. So if your opponent decides to negate the first attack, you restand, and now you have a 20k swing that you can use again. Goku, his effect is a little bit better. When this card attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KOs it. Doesn't have an energy requirement. As long as it doesn't have barrier and indestructible, it's going to die. Well, what's also really cool about these cards is the autos. When this card is removed from your opponent's battle area, when it's removed by an opponent's skill, so not attacks, but if it's removed by a skill, you get to play out a 2-drop of the other name from your drop or your deck. So for Vegeta, when Vegeta dies, you can play out a 2-drop Goku, yellow Goku from your deck or your drop. When Goku dies, you do the same with Vegeta. So you can kind of cycle them back and forth. And what's really nice is that these cards do not have unique. So technically you can have all 8 of these cards on board if you really were able to do that. If you have all 8 of these cards on board, you're probably going to win the game. But you're able to just basically, you swing with 1, they decide to kill it. Okay, cool. I'm going to play out the 2-drop Vegeta, X evolve into it, draw another card. Now I'm going to swing at this one. And you just keep going back and forth, back and forth. It's just a very interesting juggling match where your opponent has to deal with these before these cards get out of hand, because they will get out of hand eventually. Next is going to be Bulma sending out an SOS. So this card is interesting. So you're never going to play this card out. It's a 0 combo cost, but on your opponent's turn, you can combo with this card, and you can pull a 2-drop skill list from your deck and combo with it. Just a 2-drop skill list, right? Yeah, so it works with the Goku and Vegeta skill list. So on your opponent's turn, let's say you don't have a skill list in hand. We want to have a skill list eventually. So this card kind of acts as a skill list. So technically, we run 10 total copies of skill list. So your opponent swings, you say no negates, they do whatever. You combo with this. Then you get the combo with a skills card from your hand. So it allows you to search out a 5k, play it out here. So now you have 5k combo power, and then you can play it out at the end of your turn. No more than 2. I think eventually maybe this card will get cut completely, but currently it is kind of needed just to help balance out if you don't hit a skill list. Main, the main unison in the deck we run is Vados, Cosmic Aid. This allows you to awaken with Whis. It also has very interesting effects. So the auto, whenever your opponent's card attacks, you may combo with a yellow skillless card from your drop area, and then negate the skill for the turn. So technically, if your opponent decides to swing at this card, you can say auto, combo with the skillless card on top of this, making it 20k. It's the only unison in the game currently where you can combo on during this card's battle phase. Now, obviously, you can't combo anymore, so you can't go any higher than that. But if your opponent decides to swing with, like, they swing with leader at unison, you combo with one of these, you combo with the skills card. Let's say you have Whis on board, you get to draw a card. And then because you combo with the skills card, on your opponent's turn, you get to play it out with your Whis effect. Just netting you value. So it becomes a 5k on top of this, and you play it out, and now you have another 5k combo. So, very, very strong. The activate main for 1, the +1, is also really super strong. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons and switch them to rest mode. Battle card or unison. That's really good. So if your opponent is using a blocker unison, cool, just tap it down. Doesn't matter. They have Maki Cabra, it's great. You just +1, tap it down. But also battle cards as well. So battle cards, you can actually, if you play we don't play it in this deck, but if you play like the Bergamo engine, you can tap 1, and now you have a free access way of getting out your Bergamos and doing all that kind of stuff. The -4 is you get to choose 2 skills card with 15k power yellow from your deck or your drop and play them. So it allows you to play out your Gokus and Vegetas from your drop. So let's say you got all the value you can out of this, you need to push for more damage, you can -4, add 2 15k add 2 15k skills from the drop or the deck, play them out, now you have 2 more swings, at least 2 more swings. So you have 4 of those. 3 prideful transformations, searchable off of planet. Also can come down and tap cards being played by skill, and then now you have a 14k blocker on board as well. So give you some defense there. Also comes out for free if you have a unison with 2 or more markers. Small ape package. We run 2 of the ape. Each of the apes we have the expansion ape, and then we have Bardock Raiders Warcry, the one and only. This card you combo out for 2, comes into play, tap something, draws a card, now you have a 20k double strike on board. And this card you combo for 1, and then this card comes into play, it's a 15k crit blocker, and you can only play mono yellow cards, mono yellow Saiyans, as long as this card's in the field. You're not going to play this out first. You're going to want to get your Vados on board and then play this card out. Once you have the Vados on board, and if you have Whis on board, you have your other pieces on board, everything else in your deck is going to be yellow Saiyans for the most part. So you can just play those cards out. It doesn't really affect you later on in the game, especially when you have everything established on your board, and then you're just able to play out those skills cards from the drop area. It's like, great, and these are yellow Saiyans, and it gets around this terrible perm in it. Very, very poorly worded. It should only say battle cards. It shouldn't say unisons. If it said unisons, it doesn't affect unisons. I think the card would be a little bit better. This is one of the only decks I think this card actually works in. Topo Apes maybe too, but other than that, this card's really, really bad. But it's a 15k that can be used as a crit damage or a blocker, and can restand with planet as well as the ape. The other ape can. Some really fun tech is going to be the Ox King, Dad at Heart. This card is really, really cool. So the 1-drop comes down, you choose all other yellow battle cards, 3 or less, and they gain barrier. So it doesn't choose itself, which is the problem. But if you have 2 of them down, they can choose the opposite one, so then they get barrier. So you can give almost your entire deck barrier. You can give the Whis barrier, you can give your Son Gohan barrier, you can give all your Goku and Vegeta's barrier, because they're all either 2 or 3 drops. So you can give your entire board barrier, so your opponent can't really even interact, which is hilarious. I will end up running 4 of these, I think. I only have 3 for some reason, which is really weird. But having this card in the deck is super fun. I think I saw another video where they were testing with this, and I was already thinking about adding it in there, and I saw it. I'm like, wow, this is a great idea. I'm glad I wasn't the only person who thought of it. So, but yeah, this is a really, really, really interesting tech. Like I said, just still makes the deck so low to the ground, but you give everything barrier. It's really difficult to deal with. We have 2 copies of the Father-Son Goku and Father-Son Bardock from draft box 4. So Bardock, after turn 3, you can play this card for free from your hand. If you tap something, you can play it out for free. So it taps a battle card. This card comes out whenever a battle card is tapped, and it is a 15k blocker. What's interesting is that you can play this off of your Vados as well. So this is why we don't run a lot of tapping cards in the deck, because once we have Vados on board, we can just tap stuff for no energy and then just play this out for free. It's a 15k blocker. It is a 4-drop, so it doesn't get barrier, but Bardock will get barrier from the Ox King, and these can also trigger themselves as well. For super combos, I just have 4 Krillins. I think this or the honestly this or the Son Gohan Counterblast is really good, because Counterblast you can play out for 1 and tap something, which then can trigger your your Goku. But it's also searchable off planet. This card, I do think is really good though. It at 4 life, it becomes active, so it becomes a 10k super combo. You can bottom deck a card and then draw 2. Just allows you to, put cards into the deck that maybe you don't want to have currently. Just allows you to cycle cards, especially if you have multiple planets in your hand, since they're not combo worthy. You can just bottom deck a planet, draw 2 more cards, and then keep fighting. So we run 4 of these. And they're and since we have the full arts of all of them, I figured I'd run them since they're a really cool looking card. 2 Nimbus, it's the only negate in the deck. The deck is not really built to have a ton of extra card negates. Nimbus is fine. We have a lot of blockers, and we're just kind of pushing for damage. You can always run more Nimbus if you want. There's a extra card that came with this set that we'll talk about here. But other than that, there's no really other good extra card negates for yellow, sadly. So we technically run 3 secret rares in a sense. So we run 1 Maki Cabra. I say this is a secret rare because you can play it out for 4 and then -4 and then take control over one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to active mode. So if you somehow get around some really beefy card that they have on board with no barrier, you can play this out for 4 and then just -4, take the card and then use it against them. Or you can play it for 4, then now you have a really big blocker on board that can set up a lot of different defensive stats. So activate main for 1, you can choose a battle card in rest mode, ignoring barrier, draw the card, and then that card stays in rest mode for until the start of your next turn. Then the auto is when this card loses a marker, you can choose one of your opponent's cards and taps it. So any card on their board, not ignoring barrier. So unisons, battle cards, energy, and leader. But it is a really, really good unison. We only run 1 of them because we don't really need a ton. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It actually works really well with the deck because you run a lot of 15Ks. So this card's cost gets reduced by 1 for every 15K in the drop area, and you run a lot. So you have the Gokus, you have the Bardock, the draft box Bardock, the draft box Goku, and all those cards. You have the expansion ape also is a 15k. So all these 15ks in the drop area reduces this by 1. It can go down to a 4 cost. And once it has 4, you play this card out. And this negates the skills of all other battle cards. So it just negates the skills of all battle cards. So super combos become dead. So technically your super combos will be dead. Negate battle cards. Activate main for battle cards, and this means everywhere. So it's in the hand, the deck, the drop, the warp, the field, everything. So everything just becomes negated. When this card is removed from the battle area, it has a big 40k double strike. So if this card is removed from the battle area by a skill, choose all your opponent's battle cards in energy and rest mode, ignoring barrier, and place them in the owner's drop area. So you can play this out, and as long as your opponent's not running Max Kamehameha, this card is going to last on the board. If your opponent does remove it by a skill, they put all those cards in the drop area. Now, most of the time, when they see this on board, they're not going to try and kill it. But because we also run skillless in the deck as well, you can use your Vados -4, play out 2 skillless, and then as long as you have skillless on the board, you can just keep swinging with skillless. You don't have to go into the X Evolve ones once you have this on the board, because this can be your game ender for you. And then the other one is going to be Fu. Just in case the game goes to turn 6, you can play out Fu, negate every skill on their board, and now you have a 30k double strike. And also negates the skills on their turn too, which people do seem to forget about still, which is weird. So that's the main deck. So cards that I'm not going to show you a side deck, but I'm going to show you some cards that I would consider for main boarding. So you have the set 10 Vegeta that draws, that searches top 5 for a Saiyan, 3 or less, or a Unison with an energy cost of 2. So you can search out your Vados. You also can search out almost every card in your deck because most of your Saiyans are 3 or less. There's only maybe 3 Saiyans that you can't search. So it just gives you options for another one. And you can, I would say, if you want to take out Planet and run this instead, because it's kind of like a mini Planet, but it also has combo power as well. 2 Release from Evil. So Release from Evil is a great card. You can negate the skills of the attacking card for the turn, actually until the end of your turn. Yeah, until the start of your next turn. So they lose all their skills for their turn, and it's a free it's a free counter if you have a Unison on board. It's not a bad card at all. People just stop talking about it. I don't know why, but this is also a good card to consider. More Nimbus, of course, because Nimbus is great. Poutine is another one. We don't run in the main board, but Vados will trigger this, so you can Vados, play out Poutine, and now you have another card that can tap stuff. Every yellow deck should run it in the main deck or in the side deck, or consider it for the main deck, just because it is a very, very nasty card. Gotank's Genuine Ability. This is a card because you also have a lot of 15Ks. This card can come out for 2 energy. So it is a 20k blocker revenge. When it comes down, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards or Unisons, and they can attack during your opponent's next turn. So it's pretty good. So it's it can come out for as low as 2 energy. Becomes a 20k blocker barrier, and then you get to choose your opponent's Unison or a battle card, and it can attack next turn. So ends up being pretty cool, especially with the revenge mechanic. Being able to come out for cheaper and then playing it out as a revenge can stop a lot of turns. The Spatial Transmission is the negate that comes with the Whis deck. So you play it out for 1. It says if your leader's Whis, you can choose a 2-drop skillless with 15k power from your drop area and play it in rest mode. So it just allows you to get another skillless on board if you absolutely need to, and it's a negate. So I think you have to drop a card. Yeah, so you have to drop a card. The best play is to use this, pitch a skillless, and then play the skillless off the effect, so you're not losing any other cards. And then the last card is Exceptional Ability Pan. This is a 1-drop blocker that draws you a card if you have a Unison in play. So once you get your Vados down, or even later on in the game you get Makikabra down, you want to set up a board of defense. You can play this out for 1, becomes a blocker. If you have Ox King on board, it gains deflect. I mean, it gains barrier, it gains deflect. It gains barrier, so it's a 1-drop blocker barrier, and that replaces itself, so it just draws another card. So just another good defensive option. Another card too that I did not include in the main part is going to be Bardock, Will of Iron. It's a you combo with it and you get to play it on top of a Bardock. It can't be Bardock Xeno, which is the problem actually why I didn't put it in the main board, because I was going to use the 15k crit. So you play that one out, swing with it, and then you can play this on top of it, and then you can remove its permanent effect, and now you have a 20k blocker barrier double strike on board. But it doesn't work off of Bardock Xeno, so you can still play off the draft box Bardock. It's just not as much value, I feel. And then Matado, obviously this is a great card. I've seen a lot of people running it during the PPG tournament. It's a very, very good card. You can put a card in rest mode greater than your opponent's energy. It gets around deflect, so it's definitely a good target for Xenocell if you know your opponent's playing Xenocell. Once the Xenocell, as long as you have an energy up, that's the problem though, is having energy up. You can choose a card greater than your opponent's energy, put in rest mode, ignoring barrier. Because it is a counterplay, it's a counterplay battle card that just plays off the counterplay. It gets around barrier. It gets around deflect, that's why. And then the other one is the Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku, the last straw, the double striker. It's a really good card, but we don't really need a lot of self-awakening in the deck if we already have the Son Gohan. But if you want to push for more damage, you can always include this card in there. So those are just my recommendations for possible main board entries. Nothing sideboard related, obviously. But yeah, that's the deck. I'm gonna test with this deck a lot. You may see some videos with it. I may play it in the PPG tournament, depending on how I'm feeling about my Mecha Frieza list, which I will eventually share with you guys. It's trying to keep it under wraps till I play in the tournament, because it's a lot different than other people's, than other lists that I've seen. By a lot different, maybe 8 to 10 cards, which is still a big difference considering there's a few different variations of Mecha Frieza out there. So, but make sure you guys like the deck, subscribe, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.